Ecstatic Bliss. Secrets to living a juicy life. The void. It is where ending and beginning merge, the 0 point of existence, where the quantum field holds every single potential. And the void is a mysterious place that frightens especially the ego, but is necessary for the soul to really align back to truth. And the void serves as that safe space, that safe protected cocoon for the soul, the butterfly, to form. And I'm sure if you listen to this, you have heard of the void, ego death, dark night of the soul, these 3 terms actually that you can also more or less use interchangeably, which are common terms to describe a state on the spiritual journey of awakening and ascension. And it can be one single intense ego death, but most of the time we have multiple ego deaths before we really see the light out at the end of the tunnel. And the ego doesn't like the void because it's a big unknown. And the ego likes the known, the comfort, that what it is used to do, to believe, to see, to act, to be. But to ascend, we have to descend. And today's episode is about the descension that we are invited in life to embark upon, at least in these times of day. I have somehow the feeling in many years it will not be as much as we have to deal with, because we are the generations that actually clear the path for the new to be built. We are the shapeshifters, so to say, between the darkness and the light, where we really get in contact with this dual nature of our planet, where we dive deep and fly high. And there is actually, of course, no judgment about darkness and light here in this sense, because both are, from a soul perspective, from divine order perspective, neutral. Together, they form oneness, and it is our planet that kind of has this law of polarity or duality that is part of our human journey, human life, to be experienced and lived and externalized through us. And I would argue that most people, if not all, associate ascension purely with light and descension with darkness. And in a way this is true, but ascension actually means to master duality, to become a master of both the darkness and the light, and to merge them, to transcend them back into oneness, where we come from, beyond this planet. Because polarization is just a part of the game we play, and in a way we have chosen, do we go the path of light, do we go the path of darkness, and sometimes we switch to get new experiences and new insights from a soul level perspective. And some may be more trapped in lower frequencies which are related to the darkness or the shadow, and some are more circulating around lightness and those frequencies, including emotions and belief system that support that lightness. And collectively, of course, we are on that path of embracing our light more. But I would also here throw in, it's more about integrating the darkness so we can live holistically. In general, if we are here on this planet, this human earth school, duality is one, or polarity is one of the key lessons or courses we take, so to say. And there is also, I can say, like an oscillation actually between darkness and light. without judgment, again. It's as if our soul circles between both, sometimes in extremes, sometimes in the in-betweens, but it is all about experience. It's not about, okay, this is now the path I have to choose, or this is the way I have to go in a way. It's more about experience. And right now on that planet here, collectively, we have chosen that, or the divine has chosen through us, that we want to experience more light frequencies again. Because if we look at it from a broader perspective, this game of life is this oscillation between light and dark, which in other words also means that we cycle or oscillate between being very close to God consciousness and being very away from it, being very far from knowing who we truly are, the divine, and really remembering it. And we are on that stage where we are remembering again. This, what we are in now collectively, is a great remembrance. Awakening means remembrance as well. And a lot of, so to say, volunteers have come to this earth. Souls have incarnated, also very powerful souls that are on that mission to shed the old, to clear out the old and pave the way for building the new earth. So it's not only individual, it's a collective process. And maybe you've heard from the yogic perspective, the philosophy of the Yurgas. They have always talked about the end of Kali Yuga, which is the furthest away from God consciousness. So we are awakening to remembering who we truly are again. And today's episode, I would like to dive into that topic a bit more deeper, because it is essential at the moment, especially to go into your shadows so you can pave the way for not only remembrance, but actually also to invite the lighter frequencies into your vessel. And for that, I invite both of us to take a deep breath in and clear out with the out breath through the mouth. Just to anchor aligned into this shared field, into this transmission I have for you today. And you may hear through my sound, it might sometimes appear. I have a lot of flies around me, and flies symbolize, every animal can symbolize something, and flies especially symbolize this persistence of no matter what happens, no matter how often you shush them away, they will come back. It's a little bit also like mosquitoes. They are very, very stubborn flies, and they just fly again to the same spot, no matter how much you try to keep them away. And maybe that's a sign for this episode too. No matter how deep you go, how much you feel trapped or imprisoned in a dark void state, that your soul knows the path, that your soul knows the way, and that actually there is almost no other option than keep going, keep going, keep going. Even in the unknown, even in the darkness, without a torch, because your inner navigation system, that is a torch, without even an external really appearing light. There's a light inside of you that knows the path, that knows the way, because actually the soul is always the one. Yeah, if you personify it, it's that essence that guides us all the time, and that's also part of the remembrance. And that's why I so often speak about soul alignment, and part of my Soulgasm program. It's always and again aligning back to soul, because this is the path we are collectively choosing, have chosen already, and we are on. And shadow work is clearing the path to your deepest essence. And the duality actually is also reflected in soul and ego. You probably know these common graphics, soul versus ego, and ego is most of the time much more attached to lower vibrations, lower frequencies. And the soul actually transcends that into oneness and chooses either neutrality, acceptance, or to actually use that as a catapult for higher frequencies. So why is it important to do shadow work? Because you have to clear out your channel, your system, before you can really fill it again with purity, with light, energy, with love. It's in a way as if you imagine your system being filled over time, over lifetimes, with dirty water, and you first have to empty that cup of dirty water so that you can fill it with fresh water again. Because what a lot of people actually do, they are on the spiritual journey to expand, to ascend, to manifest more money, to manifest their dream life, to manifest their dream partner, whatever. All these more external-based, external-based pleasures, which is fine, but they sometimes neglect the fact that no matter how much you manifest or maybe even have outer manifestation results, if there is something in your subconscious, in your karmic cycles, in your past lifetimes, in your multidimensional being still not in resonance with what you want to manifest, it will either not manifest in the first place or it will not stay long-term. So if you want long-term results, sustainable results in alignment with your soul, letting go and clearing out, purging is essential. It is part of the journey. And also, I know some people, when they start the spiritual journey, I get very excited. Oh, now I have found a path to the Holy Grail. But what they oftentimes not see in the beginning, at least, is that shadow work will at some point hit them in the face, so to say. And the void, the ego death, the dark night of the soul, which is actually the dark night of the ego, more or less, is coming. At some point, that is coming. Oftentimes also because the human mind or human system is designed for least effort. And if we don't experience some sudden breakdowns or unexpected experiences, the human can quite stubbornly stay in their comfort zone. So the ego death, dark night of the soul phase is actually also a big stop. Stopping you from whatever you have done so far to just be. To be and to rest in the unknown. To be recalibrated in a way. And it's that portal to shadow work. So in essence, shadow work is unavoidable because any light worker is also a shadow worker. Anyone who you maybe think, oh, they have come so far in their spiritual journey, you probably don't know what they have gone through actually behind closed doors. And many spiritual teachers have had lifetimes of training, so to say, had lifetimes of purging, had lifetimes or at least phases, long phases of being in solitude, silence, and contracted, retracted from external influences. Some chooses very consciously to retreat, those going to the cave in the mountains and meditating, to have an extreme example. And some, do some here and there retreats, like Vipassana, for example. But many people are thrown into it, sometimes without notice or without conscious notice, because the soul knows always. It's all-knowing in a way. Or to that extent, at least, it is necessary for its own evolution. And purging, conscious purging, shadow work, takes lifetimes But the current time quality actually supports us in this transition from darkness to light, or from integrating our shadow. Because I can also say, actually, from experience and from observing other people, if you have integrated your shadow, the darker aspects of yourself, so to say, without judgment, you are actually far more living your potential, your holistic potential, than those who just vibrate somewhere high and are totally out of their body. Because oftentimes actually also darkness is much more grounded, much more lower chakras, and lightness is upper chakras, also from the frequency band. So those who have integrated their shadows have also integrated much more their whole chakra system. And from lower frequencies also, there is another momentum you can use in your life. Another range of your capacity to move as a human being or as a soul incarnated being. Because sometimes you may notice that some spiritual people are very much in their bubble, in their floating bubble somewhere in the clouds, but without real groundedness, without real embodiment, without owning also actually their maybe darker sides. And darker sides are maybe just mysterious for some people, or just are a little bit more kinky, or are liking things that are collectively a taboo. And owning this actually is also a part of your reclamation of who you truly are and what you came here for to experience. So we now know why shadow work is such an important piece of the puzzle of ascension, of awakening, of remembering who you truly are. What is it then that helps us to understand where to start? Where to start this? We know, okay, shadow work, I'm fully all in on my mission here to remember myself, to embody my soul. I signed up for this. I'm ready to purge whatever is not me. How do I start? If you say consciously, I'm ready for my shadow work. And most often, actually, you know right away, okay, this topic is bothering me in my life. This is a repeating pattern I have. This is a limiting belief that blocks something in my life. And there you actually have already the clue where to start with exactly what is blocking you most in life right now. Can be a habit, can be a pattern, can be a looping theme, can be a belief, can be even a specific type of person you meet constantly. Dominantly in relationships, obviously. And then you have your starting point. To start there, what blocks you most? Because the biggest block in our life is also the biggest portal for a switch and shift in our experience of life, of reality, of creating reality more in alignment and more out of our true life force energy. Because what we actually also do with shadow work is unblocking everything that prevents our life force energy to flow through us. Another way to decipher, where do I start, is to look at us holistically. What I mean by this is to look really from different perspectives at our human system, which has specifically 5 layers, also a little bit, related to the koshas, if you know those sheets, those layers of the yogic philosophy, which are physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual. So on all these levels, physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual, you can work on yourself. And actually, when I started my self-employment, I had a concept of working holistically with those to increase vitality, because on all these levels, you can have blocks. You can have blocks, and you can work specifically dedicated to one of those layers to release those blocks. And obviously all are interconnected, so when you work on one layer, all layers are somehow affected. And I would like for you to listen closely, because I would like also to invite you to note down on which layers you can change, you can make a change, you can release something to clear something out of your field right now, or today at least, yeah? So maybe you have a piece of paper and a pen to note down the physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual level. And on all these levels, we can clear our system, we can purge, we can consciously let go. The first layer, the physical, they are also actually from the dense to the more subtle. So the first layer, the physical, means especially releasing toxins from processed food, for example, from environmental factors, from impure water, from beauty products that contain substances that are not really beneficial for our body, but more a marketing instrument. And also material attachment. So I would call these, like toxins and material attachments, the key highlights of the physical level that are to be released. So anything here, actually, food is such a big topic, actually, a whole another topic that can span multiple podcast episodes. Because for me, food has always been a big part of my life, and especially like health, food, health, lifestyle, conscious food, which for me is vegan, and indeed mostly raw vegan. And also, just fun side fact, my very first course, online course, was on Udemy about starting a raw vegan diet. So it was very important and still is part of my being, raw vegan food, raw vegan diet. And it just has become so normal for me that I don't really talk about it. But anyways, food is a big topic. So this is something where you can start, because everything that you put inside of you becomes kind of you. You know the saying, I guess. And material attachments, of course, it is not meaning you have to live a minimalistic life, although some choose it maybe, and some also choose it temporarily to just see, okay, with how minimal I can live, I can sustain myself, from living outdoors in a tent to tiny houses or whatever. But it really doesn't mean that you have to leave everything behind. Because this is an extreme. And always when we live in extremes, it's out of balance in a way. It is for an amount of time for your experience, maybe something that is exactly needed for your soul's evolution. But in the long term, in the long run, balance is what our system seeks. And attachment, material attachment especially, or in general actually attachment, can also be non-material, but we are now in the physical realm still, is one of the hardest things from a human perspective, probably, because we also came here to experience this physical world. And for me, it's always a balance between indulgence, but non-attachment. So I personally feel that also luxury and everything, whatever luxury is for you, you are allowed, you shouldn't deny it for yourself. Let's say like this. Indulge fully, but be non-attached to it. It's in a way as enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, but don't exaggerate it. Don't put it into extremes. Don't let it run your show of life. And don't be attached in the way of that you need it, that you are urgently craving it or longing for it. That if it's not there, you can also live without it. Indulgent in a conscious way. So that's the physical level. Then we have the mental level, which of course includes especially limiting beliefs. limiting beliefs stem a lot from family concepts and societal conditioning and the interaction you have with the world, especially in the first 6 years and the whole childhood and youth. That is mainly what still runs in your subconscious now as an adult. So looking at your belief system is essential also because it is how your reality is shaped. There we are, whatever you think you are, you get reflected out in the world. Whatever your subconscious actually believes, that is what your reality is looking like. Not what your conscious beliefs are. Obviously, ideal case scenario is your subconscious is equal to your conscious, so the beliefs your subconscious has stored are also available to you consciously to access. But most often, the subconscious stores much more what we are not aware of anymore, because our conscious mind kind of stores this in the subconscious, so it doesn't always have to have everything present. It's a kind of efficiency process we are going through. But these subconscious limiting beliefs are really, really, really key to unlock, that you can reprogram yourself. And reprogram is also part of Soulgasm, my mentoring, because it's just essential to get down to the root cause of your patterns and behaviors and how you think you are and what you deserve, how you act, react, and so forth. It's a big, big story that lies behind limiting beliefs. And related to this very much is conditioning, because that conditioning you had in your childhood, as I mentioned, is part of your belief system and society in general. So it's something individual and collectively what we are shaped with, and how our collective reality is also manifested. Then comes the emotional layer containing all of our emotions. And maybe you know the scale of consciousness, Dr. David Hawkins. There it is really beautifully shown how emotions and frequencies, energies, vibrations are interconnected, and it's kind of like a staircase, you can also say, from lower vibrations to higher vibrations in emotions, but also states of consciousness. So emotions and your state of consciousness are very much tied to each other. If you are still in lower vibrational emotions, especially fear, especially shame and guilt, hate and anger, fear, shame, guilt, hate, anger, those emotions, those frequency bands, we are currently collectively clearing, so that we can vibrate higher. Because fear, shame, guilt, hate, anger all keep us in lower chakra vibrations, where it's actually also emotions and energetic layer. The emotional and the energetic layer are interconnected on a chakra level. Because fear, shame, guilt, hate, and anger keep us in lower chakras, which are more connected with our survival mechanisms and fight, flight, freeze, and competition, ego-driven. And we are on the path to heart-centered living, which means we need to clear out collectively these lower vibrational emotions to at least come to the heart. The heart is the switch between lower and higher vibrations and chakras. So the heart chakra activation is currently underway, so to say, here, installed on Earth. And for that, these lower vibrations, we are here to clear. And the way to clear these emotions are to feel them. Not to suppress them, not to deny them, not to, make a mental story out of them, to rationalize them, to try to understand them, but to really feel them through. Because if they are not felt, they actually fall back to the physical level and manifest as physical symptoms. So emotions want to be felt. And then the physical body can also release trauma from the tissues and everything. So emotions are, here we also have this link, emotions are tied to trauma from childhood, but also from past lives. And sometimes actually also ancestral topics. And then we have the energetic layer, which I already touched in the emotional layer now. These are especially the chakras, because the chakra system and the whole energetic system with the meridians is such a huge body of itself, actually, like the energetic body. And it is obvious that our life force energy, which is energy, needs our energetic body to be clear to run smoothly through all of our parts of the system. And if chakras are blocked or not in harmony, not synced, they cause disbalance in the body, they cause disbalance in your emotions, in your mental state. They also reflect on the other way. If you have emotional blockages, mental blockages, physical blockages, also this is manifested in the chakras. So here you see all these interconnected gateways between the layers. Chakra work, a big topic for humanity in general, I think, because for me personally, clearing the chakras is an everyday practice. It should be something like brushing your teeth, because that helps your life force to really flow through you, to enliven you, to vitalize you. And then finally we have the spiritual level. Here, things like karma, soul contracts, ancestral repeating patterns, and darker, in brackets, entities are linked to. Especially karma, soul contracts are a big topic also that we are here collectively clearing, because karma and soul contracts, especially those soul contracts, of course, that are blocking your evolution, that are blocking you from living your full potential. These are over lifetimes often, they need to be cleared out so you can step into your fullness. Here I want to mention that karma and soul contracts, of course, are not always lower vibration, that are not always counted to darkness, because karma is actually just a result from what you did in the past. And soul contracts are also here always to learn, to experience, to kind of gift each other something without judgment. But if there are soul contracts and if there is karma that lets you not move forward, that keeps you stuck somewhere, then it is something to look at. So yes. And now I invite you, as I mentioned, to sit for a moment. Maybe you want to pause this episode, or you make a note for after listening fully to the episode, to sit down and make a list. What are you ready to release? On each level or each layer, that you note something down that you are ready to release, which is something physical, something mental, something emotional, something energetic, and something spiritual. And then maybe also make a priority. What is most blocking you at the moment? What are you ready to face? Where are you going in the fire to burn it so that another layer of you is freed? Regarding karma, I just wanted to add that karmic contracts are often in cycles, and often also from different angles, perspectives, roles you take with someone. And they often show, if we talk about karma really in the sense of that is something that blocks you, that is something that keeps you from living your fullest life, then it is something you really feel repeating patterns and stuck in life, like as if something is off. You do, no matter what you do, you cannot continue somehow. Oftentimes also, even if you have tried multiple spiritual practices and thought, okay, maybe this is my whatever belief, this is maybe my diet, this is maybe how I act in my daily life, whatever, and it is still there, then maybe it's something karmic. And karma, from my experience and my view, sometimes it's something that you can actually just in an instant erase when you remember it, when you're like, okay, this is now I know where it comes from or what it is showing me. Yeah, sometimes it just needs a remembrance and then the active, okay, I am now ready to release this. I am now a full sovereign being again. I don't need this anymore. I have had my learnings. Thank you. Goodbye. Yeah, this is sometimes the case. But it can also sometimes be the case that this karmic cycle, loop, contract, pattern, whatever it is, has a time out, so to say. So some karmic patterns, from my perspective, are also here for a certain amount of time, and your soul knows exactly, okay, now is the time to release it, because you are ready, you have learned your learnings from it. Yeah, only when the soul has had those experiences it wanted to have, not the mind telling the soul, so to say, okay, I'm ready, but truly when you are ready, then it is a time out. Then they are kind of like exploding, erasing, erupting themselves. And also, this current time quality supports karma clearing a lot. Release it, reclaim your power, and program or condition yourself to another outcome, another pattern. That is, in a way, what I can say to karmic loops, which is also actually a topic for a whole podcast episode. Yes, and for all these layers, of course, we have a lot of spiritual practices and tools to help us. Spiritual tools are not always roses and sunshine. They can be very deep and heavy, especially if trauma is related to anything of your blocks. Shadow work, trauma work is very much tied to each other. We can also say spiritual practice is here to eliminate everything that blocks remembrance of who you truly are and unlocks life force energy to flow in your physical human form organically, naturally again. And with all shadow work, there comes also something with it, which is grief. Oftentimes in the void state, in the ego death stage, dark night of the soul, you will probably cry a lot. Sometimes without even knowing why, because you're releasing. You're releasing your old self, your old identity, your comfort zone, things you believed you liked, that were part of your life. So many things that were a part of you, not everything of you. Yeah, I always like to think in parts. A part of you grieves the loss of the old. And this is actually more ego-based, but human, of course. From a soul level, nothing is really to worry about or to grieve about. Rather, if the soul has a choice, it's actually about celebrating this new birth. Because every time you release something, you let go something, you expand, you grow, you make room for the new. And grief very, very often is also indeed a huge portal to the divine, to get closer to this, what is beyond words. A lot of art is created through grief. And in the end, sometimes actually grief turns into ecstatic bliss. At least it is an experience I had, that in the deepest grief, at some point there was something like a switch, like a turnaround, and like the wheel opened, like, woo. Actually, there lies so much beauty in grief, so much beauty in sadness. And that is where you remember that duality is just a mechanism here on earth, and behind all this is neutrality and also the innocence of your soul to want to experience what it is to be alive. In the end, I want to remind you that no, you are not alone, that it is a collective purging process at the moment, that you are interwoven in this, and that you are here, that your soul chose here to be part of this great movement. know that this phase actually also brings you closer to your soul and the divine, which is a gift. Know that going through the shadow will bring you to the light anyways at some point. That there are cycles between shadow and light, shadow and light, shadow and light, because this is a dualistic world. And after all, know that after walking through the fire, your phoenix is destined to rise. And with that, I leave you in your own contemplation, inviting you to take your time to reflect on your own internal world of the darkness, of the shadow, to descend and to transcend any fear to descend, that you find the beauty in darkness, that you really find the essence of darkness and how textured, how deep it brings you also to your soul. It's just a different path. And at some point, descending and ascending become one. And that is a much more integrated approach to awakening. To integrate the shadow, to integrate the light, to know and remember both as one, and then go that path of oneness. I wish you a deep dive for today and the next week. And then we hear each other again next time. Much love and bliss. Soraya Ananda. If you feel the deep pull to walk this spiral more intimately, Soulgasm, my 6-month one-on-one sacred mentoring awaits you. This is a living embodiment of all I transmit here, but uniquely decoded for your soul. Enter the portal of ecstatic bliss and unleash your personal soulgasmic reality. All details and the link to book your vibrational match call are in the show notes.